Hey, Nick Darr here with Business Over a Brew. Pleased to shoot this episode at the Old Bakery Beer Company here in Alton. As a lot of you know, the location where we used to shoot the show, Great Rivers Tap and Grill, decided to close down, as businesses do sometimes, and kind of left us scrambling a little bit, looking for a location to shoot our next episode. And on very short notice, we called Lauren at Old Bakery here, and she was immediately said, "Sure, come down and shoot it." So just very generous of them to let us use the space on such short notice to shoot the show here. It's a really terrific business. They really run a great place here at Old Bakery. And it's a good fit for our show too, because they're a great business, and obviously they serve brew and make it here. So it's a terrific place to have it. If you haven't had lunch here or dinner, I highly recommend you do that. The food is terrific. The beer selection is great bourbon selection as well. So it's just a great place to hang out in a historic building here in Alton. So come check out Old Bakery Beer, and thanks again to Lauren and everybody for letting us have the show here at Old Bakery in Alton. Welcome to Business Over a Brew. Pleased to be joining you from the Old Bakery Beer Company here in downtown Alton. Beautiful spot, great food, great atmosphere. Come check it out. You won't be disappointed at all. Thanks to the Riverbend Growth Association for sponsoring this program, and they have booked a great guest for us to start here today. Ann Crane, Executive Director of the Community Hope Center. Ann, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, tell us just a brief history, thumbnail sketch maybe of the history of the Hope Center.
The Hope Center was formed out of Crystal Davis's garage. She just wanted to help people. She knew there was a need, and she started going to her neighbors and asking for donations, and it grew from there, and it grew into the fire department there in Forest Homes, and then the school became available, and the school district were like, here you go, have at it, and we've been there ever since.
And where are you guys located, for those that don't know?
We are on Culp Lane. We are in the old Forest Homes grade school, and in Cottage Hills.
I think, as a lot of nonprofits do, it got started because Crystal had experienced some of these same problems herself, right, and wanted to come up with a solution. So just talk about some of the services that you guys offer.
Well, our main service that we offer is a food pantry. That's our biggest thing that we do. We also have household items and clothing that's available, that we make available to all of our guests every time they come in. The other thing that we do, maybe that might be a little bit different than some of the other pantries in the area, is we offer what we call spiritual care. So we invite our guests to come in and talk, and if there are issues that they're having or they just need somebody to talk to, we have people there that are trained to sit and listen and talk, and sometimes offer up advice, sometimes just be that listening ear, because sometimes it's just really hard.
Do you find that sometimes that's maybe the number one thing that they need? Or?
Actually, a lot of people are. We have several guests that come in just to see our spiritual care people. They don't necessarily need food, but they have an issue going on and they just really want somebody to talk to, or they've created a bond with one of our spiritual care people, and they come in and they talk specifically with them.
You've been with the Hope Centers for 12 years.
Yes.
Executive Director since October. How did you get involved with it?
Well, actually, it started all because I heard about Community Hope Center through Angela Valdez, who was the development director at the time. She came to our church and talked about the upcoming Christmas event that was coming up and needing volunteers and explaining how that worked. And I had some days off, and I thought, well, it sounded interesting. So I went out and helped with the Christmas. And I have been there ever since.
Was there something specific during that time, or a story you remember that you thought, boy, I think I want to get more involved with this?
Well, I don't know that there was one specific story. I think it was just the idea of helping people and just being a light to people. She talked about the camaraderie of the people, and it being she told individual stories, of course, about some of the guests that have come in. I don't remember specifics because that was about 14 years ago.
Sure, yeah. Right.
So, but it was just one of those things that it just tore at my core, and I'm like, okay, I can do more than what I'm doing. I like to help people, and and sometimes you don't always have the personal resources yourself to do that, but your time is just as valuable as your money. So that's where I could help.
Relatively short time as executive director.
Uh-huh.
Has there been anything that surprised you? You maybe thought you knew everything about the place. Has there been anything you thought, boy, I didn't quite know that?
Well, I guess the biggest thing for me has been board of directors things. I've always been at the board meetings. I've been to all of those, and I've dealt with all of the board members and all, but just all the little intricacies that go along with running a nonprofit and dealing with the board and just trying to figure out all of those caveats and nuances. It's been interesting.
I would think too, a little bit unique in terms of managing a team and leading a team, especially a team of many unpaid volunteers.
And that is interesting. It's one of those things that you love your volunteers, but sometimes it can be frustrating because they have they're giving of their time, and it's really hard to go into someone who's donating time and say
you're doing this wrong.
You're doing it wrong, and you can't do that. And so trying to do that, and I mean, our staff is great. We're a small staff. There's just 6 of us, but they are the best. I mean, we couldn't do anything of what we're doing without them. And honestly, our volunteers are the best. We have anywhere from 150 to 200 active volunteers at any one time. They're not all there at the same time.
That would probably be pretty hard to handle for you.
But we have in our building anywhere from 25 to 35 volunteers every day, and so it can be a challenge. But I've been doing that for a long time. So,
what's been the biggest change that you've seen in the years that you've been there?
Well, the biggest change we made was going from a boxed food pantry to a client choice pantry. When I first started, we just had an area set up. They had a big store area that people could shop, but then there was a line that they just waited in, and then they were given a box, and it was basically what we had in it. Right. That's what you get. And we did that for a long time, and we did it well, and we tried to be very careful as to what we put in and things like that. But we just noticed that we were finding things pulled out of boxes and left outside because they didn't like them, or that. And we were like, okay, we're wasting a lot of things. So what's a better way? And in the food pantry area, there are lots of different ways to do things, and we kept seeing client choice. So it's more of a shopping model. So they actually get to shop for themselves.
I think I was out there in the summer, and the previous executive director, Paul Militzer, was giving me a tour, and I think talking about it's the dignity too of being able to choose what you want.
Absolutely. And they really, our guests that come in, they love to be able to shop and feel normal. For lack of a better word, normal, and not like it's not a handout. They're actually getting to go and doing what they need to do and getting what is good for their families. And it's been a really good transition for us over the last few years that we did that. We really had some people that were like, this is never going to work. And
there's always naysayers.
always. But those naysayers are the ones that are now leading the charge and saying, "Oh yeah, this really works. This is really good."
Sure.
So it's been a great transition. It was wonderful. COVID. If there was only good thing that came out of COVID, it was the fact that we were able to transition over to that during that time because we were closed and we had the building available to us and that sort of thing without shutting off people's services. So
that's one of the things that you struggle with, like through the whole pandemic of how is that, how maybe in a time where people need the services more than ever, you can't deliver them. That had to be a challenge for you guys. But
yeah, it was. But we had started doing what we called a drive-through a couple of Christmases before.
Right.
So because we closed for a couple of weeks during the winter, and we always felt really bad because it's like some people might not have enough food to make it through. So we started doing a drive-through. And so when COVID hit, it was easy. It was an easy transition for us. It was one of those things, we closed one day and we said, okay, we'll be open for drive-through tomorrow. And we were able to just turn it around. Now, we were fortunate and blessed that we had some great volunteers that had been through that with us and were able to just pick right up. So it was good.
Talk a little bit about the need. You've been there for over a decade now, up, down. And how is it trending now?
We are trending up. The economy, of course, is really hurting. The COVID levels for SNAP benefits and those things are gone. So everybody is back down, and sometimes it's even lower than what they were. I mean, we have some of our elderly that come in and tell us that they get like $16 a month. And I don't know about you, but $16 a month doesn't.
That's not probably going to pay my bills.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I mean, you won't even get one meal.
Right.
You know, so we're seeing the trends going up and up. I mean, our appointment times are full. We are booked out, and we are doing a lot of emergency boxes just to get people through.
I was going to ask, what adjustments do you have to make when that demand does rise?
Well, and that's one of our. That's a sticking point for us, because we want to add more appointments, but we just don't have the volunteers to do that and the staff to do that and the hours to do that. So where we've had to make the adjustments is we've had to start allowing emergency boxes. And because it used to be if somebody just walked in, we would say, make an appointment and come back. Well, now we're just saying, okay, we'll get you something to get you through, and we'll get you an appointment while you're here.
No. Can you give us a success story of somebody that has come in and you've seen a transformation?
Actually, yes. And she's had actually sat on our board for a few years. She came in and was needing services. Her husband, they had split up, and she had 3 or 4 kids still at home, and she was trying to make ends meet. And she came in and, received services, went through spiritual care. She just loved it and was coming back. And then she got a couple of jobs and was able to start taking care of some things for herself. And then she actually had a day where she could come in and she started volunteering. And she volunteered in our office for several years, like 1 day a week. And since then, she has gone on to become a manager of a couple of different Dollar Generals. She's opening shops up. She's doing those sorts of things. And we asked her to sit on our board because she was a really good, we needed her insight. We needed to know what we were doing right, what we were doing wrong, and how do we do things better. And she is thriving. She does have some health issues, which have kind of taken things down for her a little bit, but if you were to ask her today, she would say, that was the big turning point for me. So
I think those stories are such good examples of why donating or volunteering or getting involved with a nonprofit is so important, because a lot of times, there's certainly an attitude of not my problem,
right.
I don't have time to deal with that, but man, the impact you can have in that story from helping one person, and then she's gone on to help many other people, and now serving on the board. So just, if the Hope Center or other organizations hadn't been there to help her, who knows,
right?
What would have happened. Now so much positive has come out of that, just that one story.
Absolutely. And, and there are a lot of other stories, and we had one particular lady who was, just needed somebody to walk alongside her, and just needed somebody to help her navigate some waters. And that's where our community navigation piece came from, was, seeing that some of these doors are closed for people or harder for them to open. So our community navigator worked with her and got her ready, and she's in a home now, and she's doing well on her own. So it's really important for people to be able to give. If you have a special gift like that, please share it, because you never know who you're going to impact. And, every day we see people like that.
Right.
And some days it's heartbreaking, and then some days it's just you're just overjoyed.
Right. Another nonprofit in the area, Ty Beckel's a good friend of mine, the executive director of Amari. And if you'd have known him 15 years ago, you'd have thought he's a drug addict. I don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
It's, not my problem. But then you look at somebody helping him and him recovering and being in recovery.
Absolutely.
And now being executive director of an organization that helps those
And he's
people.
doing, I mean, it's marvelous.
Right.
We refer people that way all the time. I mean, his story is amazing.
It just, I think, is a good example or a cautionary tale maybe of how we should embrace those people and not push them away.
Exactly. And, we have a lot of different homeless people that come in, and, we've got some that have been coming to us and have been homeless for years.
Right.
But we have relationships with them, and we take care of them, and they know that it's safe with us. We have one person in particular that he's always there, and if he doesn't come in for a couple weeks, everybody's always asking, where is he? Have we seen him? Where is he? Where is he? So they become your friends, and we try. That's the one thing that we want to do, is we want to be relational. That's how you make change, is being relational with people. You can't just be across the table from somebody. You kind of got to get in the muddy waters with them and get into the mess a little bit.
Absolutely.
We can't do it all, but we do the best we can. And then we refer to others in the area that are better suited for those things.
Sure.
So,
a couple quick questions left. Give us a couple, your day-to-day job. What are 2 or 3 things that you have to get done every day?
Day to day, basically, I just make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do.
Sure.
I have people, my other
That's a
staff
full-time
members
job,
take care.
isn't it?
Yeah, they take care of all that stuff. But I'm just, I'm constantly checking on the funding levels, and I'm working on the next appeal, and those sorts of things, and making connections within the community.
Sure.
So when Debbie asked me, if I could come on, I was like, oh, I'm really nervous about that, but yeah, I need to do that, because people need to know who I am, and so that if there's something going on, then we can make some connections here. So
Nothing to be nervous about. Nobody watches this show, so you don't have to worry about it all. Just me and you talking. You touched on what's kind of what's next and what's the next appeal. So talk a little bit about the vision for the Hope Center in the next 3 years.
Well, it's really interesting, because we haven't, since I have taken over as executive director, it's only been a few months, and Christmas fell within that time frame. So we are still kind of laying out farther vision, but we do know, and this is something that we've been talking about for a couple of years now, we do know that we need to move at some point. The building is great, but it is old, and it has a flat roof. And if anybody knows anything about old buildings with flat roofs,
they leak.
They leak, and they leak a lot.
Right.
So we're constantly dealing with that. We have a boiler system, and we have pipes in the floor, and pipes, those old pipes leak, and then we have to dig the floors up and figure out where that's at. And one side of the building is 95 and the other side is 65. And so besides that, so our expenses are a lot with that building, but we also are not on a bus route. And that really hurts some of our guests. It's hard for them to get to us. The closest bus route is about 1.5 miles away. Yeah. And if you get, 2 weeks worth of groceries, that's a hard way to carry. We've been working with Madison County Transit and looking at different things that we could possibly do, and they've been great, and trying to figure out what we could do to at least maybe get closer. So those things are happening. So we're working on trying to do that. If we can't get into another building, then we're going to try to figure out ways we can get better transportation. And does that mean maybe that we hire a driver and find a little bus and we pick up in certain communities, certain days of the week? We're trying to look into those things. So those are kind of our goals.
Interesting.
Yep.
If somebody wanted to get involved, volunteering or donating, what would be the best way to go about doing that?
And the best way to get involved would be to go to our website. And we have just upgraded, and we've actually changed our URL. We shortened it because it was really, really long. So now it's www.chcil.org.
Right.
And so if you go to the website, there's different places you can do. You can make financial donations. You can fill out the volunteer application. If you want to volunteer, just give our office a call and talk to Sherry Keller. She's our volunteer manager. And she will set up a time to meet with you and show you around and figure out maybe where you might want to fit in.
Well, Ann, thanks so much for coming on the show. Anything that we didn't touch on that you'd like to cover?
Just be looking out for our next fundraiser, which at this point we have one coming up in the fall again. We're going to do another trivia night in September. So information will be going out probably in the next 2 or 3 months about that. So we'd love to have you join us. We had a great time last year.
Great.
So
check out chcil.org, right?
Yes, that's it.
All right. Thanks for coming on the show, Ann.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks.